Hello and welcome to another episode of Listening to the Movies, the show where we play classic hits from great film soundtracks. I am your host, Jeremy, and today we have a very special guest for tonight's show. Our special guest tonight is a very special man. He has been in the media reviewing business for over 20 years. He is a game lover, a movie connoisseur, and all around probably one of the nicest people I have ever met, ever. He's the producer, co-host, co-founder of both EP Daily and Reviews on the Run. Everyone, Mr. Victor Lucas. Victor, thank you so much for coming on the show.
That was a very, very nice introduction. Thank you so much.
Oh no, I had to say the nicest, man, because I've seen you twice at the Fan Expo, and I don't know, just your interactions with me and with everyone else is just you always have that same really good attitude, and you're always really nice and just a great all around guy. So I have.
Are you kidding? It's an absolute honor and a joy to be able to do what I do, and you know, I completely appreciate if people care about our stuff and want to come up and say hello. It's unbelievably gratifying, and I feel very grateful, man.
No, that's why I wanted you to have you on the show so much. Speaking of which, have you ever done interviews for other college radio stations or associations before?
I think I have a couple of times. Actually, one of our interns, well, she's not an intern anymore. We hired her, but she was an intern. She interviewed me for I forget the school. I'm sorry, but she interviewed me for a college radio station, and she did a great job. Her name is Alyssa Harrison.
Oh, sweet.
And I remembered her, and it wasn't that got her the gig, but I've had a couple. It's been pretty cool. I feel very honored to be able to do these kinds of things.
Oh, no doubt. And I guess that's something you already stated, it is that you feel that it's important to be connected with your fans?
Absolutely. And I really don't. I have an issue calling them fans because they're not fans of me per se. They're fans of the content that I'm a fan of. You know, they understand that I've been able to have this kind of cool sort of opportunity to get into these worlds and meet a lot of the people that make a lot of their favorite stuff, and I respect them and I work for them, and I try my best to represent them well when I'm out there.
You and your EP team had a booth at the Vancouver Fan Expo this last April. How was it meeting with them in person? Did you have any interesting interactions?
Well, I mean, what's crazy about media is that you get kind of lost in your own space and your own workload and the things that you have to kind of deliver day in and day out, or week in and week out, and you get kind of stuck in your little bubble. And so when I got out when I get out and I'm able to meet people at things like Fan Expo, it's a total trip because it's just a total difference from my day to day. Because I'm usually in my basement playing video games, or I'm in a movie theater, or I'm in front of the camera in the studio or out in the field, and I forget that people watch sometimes. You know, I forget that I've got this public thing. I mean, I have that sort of interaction with Twitter. I have a tangential one or a minor one, I think, through Twitter, and I really appreciate the experiences and the wisdom and the things that I learned through conversations with people there, but it's not the same when you're meeting people face to face. And I think one of the kindest things that somebody said to me was, don't ever sell, always stay independent. You guys are a terrific voice for us, and I got a big hearty thank you, and you know, it's very humbling to receive stuff like that.
There was one person, one fan of the radio show page asked, "Did you remember signing a guy's chest?"
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a old university friend of mine, actually.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. No. During your exhibit hall presentation, Marissa said that you get very giddy when you're watching comic book films. She mentioned that you were teeming with excitement when you were watching the new Captain America movie. But I also know that you love Batman, as that every single time I've seen you do a signature, you've always put the bat symbol in there. So this is a two-sided question about Marvel and DC. Which one do you prefer in terms of films, comics, and characters, and which one do you believe is doing better? It's kind of an obvious question, but I would still like to know what you think.
Yeah, no, Marvel's kicking butt. I think, ever since Avi Arad kind of converted the comic company into a content company and a studio, and they've taken authorship and ownership over all of their properties and treated things with a great deal of respect. I mean, that dates back to the first time I realized that things were different with Marvel and comic book movies forever. And this is going to surprise you, but it was Blade. It was watching Wesley Snipes slice and dice through the vampires in the opening sequence of Blade, and I was jumping out of my chair. I couldn't believe, because I'm not a Blade guy. I hadn't read the books, but tell me that movie didn't make you want to know everything about this character.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
Excellently put that. So it's such an excellent movie, so well put together, and everybody's terrific in that film. And then, the Bryan Singer X-Men movies and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. And then when Marvel started to make a lot of that dough and then reinvest it into their own studio, they are doing everything correctly. And Warner Brothers, I think they've done some fantastic work with their television stuff. I'm a huge fan of Smallville, and I'm a huge fan of Arrow, and I'm excited about The Flash. It seems like they have no compunction to risk a lot in that medium. With movies, they're kind of hit and miss, I wasn't a big fan of the third Dark Knight film from Christopher Nolan. I was very let down by that movie. That was I did enjoy Man of Steel quite a bit. I felt that Superman Returns was kind of mopey. And, I think Marvel's killing it in movies. And in the books, actually, I love the Marvel comics. I didn't read them when I was a kid. I was one of those snooty fanboys that only like DC, and I turned my nose up at Marvel. But then when I got to know Tommy, and Tommy was on the show, Tommy Tallarico, and he was such a big Spider-Man fanboy, I said, okay, well, let me check out some of this Marvel stuff. Let me start with Spider-Man. And I loved it. I love the character. I love the down-to-earth, qualities of the interplay between the heroes. And
Dan Slott has been doing a really good job as writer for it.
Yeah, and Brian Michael Bendis is phenomenal, and I feel very spoiled because I got to kind of jump into that world a little bit later. So I have many years of DC fandom, and then I got to kind of jump into the Marvel space and become a Marvel nerd sort of in my 20s and 30s, and I'm just a fan of cool, creative stuff. So I don't pit them against each other. I can be just as excited at a Captain America movie as I can at a Batman movie.
Oh, that's awesome. No,
you got to read The Five Nightmares by Matt Fraction. It's the Iron Man series that he did, and you should read Adi Gronoff's take on Extremis. He's the artist, but those are the works that really kind of, I think, part of those works really led to the sort of new look of the Marvel Universe. Of course, the Ultimates that Mark Miller did was a big chunk of that as well. Those early books were amazing. They basically cast Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury in the comic. They had Jackson in the book maybe 10 years before he was cast in any of the Marvel movies. And so when it came time to cast Nick Fury, they had this comic book representation of what he was supposed to look like, and it was him, and that was brilliant on everybody's part.
No, that is true. That is an excellent choice. This is kind of a broad kind of question here, but if you were to take a different route in life, say if you were to go into game development or into film development, first off, which one would you rather do, and what would you make?
I've done a little bit of all of that, actually. Yeah. I started as an actor, and I wasn't in any movies, but I was on stage, and I was in some television shows and some commercials.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of stuff in school, and I loved acting. I miss it sometimes. I don't like the idea of being a product as an individual and marketing myself through auditions and stuff. That was the thing that I had a real tough time with.
Oh, yeah.
Not the work of the auditions, but the look at me, I'm awesome part of acting. That gets me down a bit. I prefer to talk about a group or a team or an idea or a concept. I have no problem pitching that, but pitching me as a product, I always had an issue with. And then I also worked as a game designer on NASCAR 2001 at Black Box Games before they got acquired by EA.
Oh.
And I had a nice little taste of game development there. I wasn't there very long, but it gave me some perspective and some insight and an appreciation that I constantly, dip back to and have built upon through my many years at working with and visiting studios all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, when I think about it, I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and it took me a long time to realize that, but we've been alone in this space many times throughout my career. Like, we've been the only show that does what we do, and I think we are that now. And because of that, I feel like we are fighting a bit of a battle. There's a lot of lowest common denominator television out there. There's a lot of money
shows.
grab type stuff, a lot of reality type stuff, and I hate all that stuff. I like talking about imagination. I like talking to creators and people that are driving some cool fictional stories forward in whatever medium we were able to cover them in.
Oh,
that's what EP and Reviews is really about. So I feel very, very lucky that I get to do it, but I also feel like we have to work hard to make our stuff as good as it can be, and to never get lazy, to respect this opportunity.
Oh, it's a perfect outlook on it. What you were saying about you being possibly the only one left, that was actually a question I had for you, is in recent years, a lot of gaming-related press companies have gone out of business. GamePro, Nintendo, Power, EGM have all ceased production. PlayStation and Xbox Magazine have now converted to online. And most notably, G4 is pretty much gone. Yet EP Daily and your Reviews on the Run you've done so well that you've been able to produce reviews on the run as well. What do you think has led to your shows being so successful, and what makes you think that, what have you done and you and your team have done to outlast everyone else?
Well, I think we approached this medium, the games specifically, with a broader perspective. Mm-hmm. We have been inclusionary rather than exclusionary. And I think when we went daily, we also broadened the content focus quite a bit. So we started being able to talk about movies and TV and comics and action figures. And, these are the biggest things in the world that we talk about. Mm-hmm. And we also talk to the people that build this material. We don't just put this stuff, as B-roll that we talk over and sort of read the feature lists about. We go and we interview the people that build all of this stuff, and we have a lot of one-on-one discussion with really, really intelligent people. And then when you couple it with the footage that we get of all of this content, it's the best stuff that human beings make. It's the most artistic, it's the most beautiful, it's the most elaborate, and the people that make them are very, very intelligent. And so I think we make a pretty interesting couple of half-hour shows, and the discussions about this material is different than most other enterprises out there. We didn't go too niche and too narrow. And when I set out, I really wanted to make the Entertainment Tonight and the Siskel and Ebert of games originally, and then I realized that we wanted to be that for geeks and sort of geek culture. And the other recognition there is that geek culture is the biggest culture. It is the number one culture in our society. It's the biggest money-making stuff. It's the most ambitious stuff out there. And so when somebody that doesn't care about any of these things in the minutia just turns on the show, what they see is multi-million-dollar productions that are really good looking, and then we cut to people that are very interesting, whether they're actors or game makers or artists or whatever. So I think we have been able to kind of circumnavigate some of the pressures out there. Not to say that we haven't had to deal with a lot of changes and ups and downs, but we've been okay.
During the 2011 Vancouver TED Talks, you said that now as an adult, you get to talk about things that you loved as a child. You said that you are basically a big kid at work. You review games, films, and tech gadgets and comics and everything. Of all these things, which one do you enjoy reviewing the most?
Oh, I think it's game reviewing.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's where I'm the most comfortable, when I'm sitting there playing a game and analyzing it, and
That
then
extra level of...
being able to talk about it afterwards. I think that's the thing that I have the most passion for and the most fun with.
Have you ever...
I mean, I love it all, though. I mean, I love talking with the people that I get to go off and interview, and I feel, I don't know, I'm on a buffet table of awesome stuff, man. I feel very satiated with all of these different aspects of my career. It's pretty amazing.
That's an awesome analogy, a buffet table of what you want. That's so cool. You also, during those talks, when you started, you said that you had a comic book line dating back to 1950s. What is it?
I have 50s Batman. I had almost the full run of the 60s. It wasn't all in mint condition, but I went crazy for Batman stuff, especially. And I had basically from 1960 to 1990, almost every issue. And in between Batman and Batman Returns, I needed money as an acting student, and I sold a big chunk of my classic collection, which I regret. But then I've collected tons and tons of issues. I have thousands of comics. I don't keep them in vacuum pressure cases or anything.
You enjoy them for what they are. You don't appreciate them as items of money. You appreciate them as items of fanfare and your childhood and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. There's. But it's kind of what you just said, though. How you to get forward with your career, you had to sell a bunch of your comics. It reminds me a lot of what Kevin Smith had to do for Clerks, right? Because he had to sell all of his comics to finance that movie. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I started my business. I was a waiter, and all of the money that I made, I funneled into the company, whether it was computers or games or little cameras that I could afford, because things were way more expensive when I started than they are now.
Oh yeah.
But it was all pumped into the business. We had to do a lot of hard copy pitches that used to cost me a fortune. I used to have to go and print stuff, and it would have to look all professional and beautiful. And I remember spending $100 per presentation and printing off 10 of them or whatever. And first computer I ever bought for the company ended up that we wanted to have it as a multi-purpose, top of the line gaming computer, plus a great publishing computer, great for Photoshop, which was still relatively new. I've been doing this for so damn long, but the computer was $10,000.
Oh
my!
I
couldn't believe it.
Oh no!
Our cameras back then were $40,000.
Oh.
Our first Avid that we bought to cut the show on was $40,000, and we couldn't finish the show. We could only we couldn't deliver from that Avid to the stations. We had to actually take it to another production facility and have them take all of the edit decision lists, the EDLs, and upconvert it to, they called it offline and online. So they had to get it to an online state, and then they could pump it out to beta SP tape. And that was really expensive. All of it was really expensive. But you know what? I mean, we bit the bullet and made broadcast quality stuff with a can-do attitude right from the beginning. And it was surreal to watch the show for the first time on TV and see that we had hit.
You had achieved what you wanted.
Pardon me?
You had achieved what you had set out for.
Yeah, but it was different because it takes a life of its own with all of those different influences and all of that really, that heart, all of that commitment, and then you watch it and it's just like, wow, there's a lot of joy in this. And I think people recognize that when we launched EPN, when we started to get the word out about EPN, one of the things that we did is we let people that signed up at EPN.TV see the first season again just before the holidays, and people were able to tune into our first episodes, and I think there was a lot of joy about that, because back then it was just winging it, just trying to figure out how to do all of this stuff. It still is a ton of joy today, but it was, when you don't know what you're doing, it's nothing but joy.
No, that that's totally true. I remember seeing some of you guys' first episodes. But actually, speaking of which, I wanted to ask you. This is a question that several of my friends agree with this. We wonder if you have the Keanu Reeves sort of syndrome where you can't age. You look near damn the same as you did 20 years ago. It's like, is it a really good sort of skin moisturizer or something, or is it just all this happiness and all this joy that you have with your job is just helping you stay like internally youthful?
Well, I take care of my skin for sure, but I am absolutely never going to grow up internally. I feel like I've got the same joys that I've had since I was 5 years old. But I think also it's kind of healthy living, man. I don't drink very, very much. I have a beer or a glass of wine every once in a while. I don't smoke. I don't abuse my body. I try to get enough sleep. That's the one vice that I would like to get better at. I'd like to be able to sleep more and more soundly. But I think, I don't know, I realized that you get one spin and you got to take care of this vessel, and I think a lot of people push their vessels to the very limit and then end up paying for it later on.
Oh yeah, no doubt, right? Like it's kind of the same way of how hockey players are back in the 70s and 80s. Those guys were smoking and chewing tobacco all the time, and now that they couldn't play past 40, but now since they're able to keep themselves in more better condition, they're able to play a lot longer. So
yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple science. You eat the right things, and you watch how much partying you do, and you find love, and you build things in your life that you're very happy with, and you'll be okay.
Yeah. I was again kind of going back to what you were talking about when you were building your show. It kind of makes me think now, after you were saying it was so difficult at first, it was so expensive, but nowadays everyone and their grandmother can make a YouTube video. So
yes.
Have you ever had a chance to go around YouTube and other websites and check out other people's review channels and whatnot? And what do you think of them? Do you think that some of them are kind of going the same direction as you, or do you feel that they're kind of cheaping out, or what do you?
I think people do the best that they can, and I think that you do a little bit better every time you take a chance, and every time you take a stab at it. I do check out YouTube videos every once in a while. I don't have a lot of time for that, but certainly, I'll tell you this: I wouldn't hire anyone to be on our shows in the future or in our network at EPN unless they had some kind of presence, with a video site out there. Whether it was a reel or an editing thing that they have done. The thing that has happened with the democratization of production is you need to find that way to express yourself, and that's how you will carve out any kind of paying work for yourself that way. There is no other way to do it. You can't just go to school and have some credentials and some experience from school and expect that someone's just going to see that resume and go, wow. You need to point people to video that you have worked on and can take some authorship and ownership for, and be real and be authentic about that. And then I think also have some realistic expectations, because the other side of the coin of this democratization is that finding, the high-paying gigs of television that, were kind of available pre-2005 are disappearing very quickly. It's media is in a constant state of upheaval, and it's a very, very interesting time. It's a very interesting time.
No doubt. The way of getting a job is much more different. Before it was all about the schoolwork and everything. Now it's more so about what you do. But you were saying for college related things, this interview will also be featured in the arcade column for the university's Cascade newspaper, which will be in a few weeks. Do you think that contributing to college radio stations or papers is a good way to start to get possibly into the media industry, or do you think that maybe that time has come and gone?
No, of course it is. Any taste of it is a a good way. And the thing about decisions and directions and building dreams is that you need to take a lot of different chances and take some paths and understand that every path gives you a wisdom, and you may end up doing something in your life that is wholly different than what your 19 or 20-year-old self envisions for you. And that's cool. And that's something that people should embrace, And I think that I think what I would caution people getting into media today with is also doing something with their hands as well, whether it's stage craft and set construction or, I think the serving industry, the waitering industry, and I don't mean to be dismissive about the amount of options and available jobs out there or anything like that. I just think that, and it's not just a fallback type discussion here either. It is giving yourself education that's real world. If you're going to be a good journalist, you'll be a better one if you spend some time working with people and get to hear what they are concerned about and what they sort of search through the media for, And I think if you get your hands dirty doing different types of things, not only will you be a better communicator for more people, but you'll have a lot more respect for that opportunity when it comes. And I think that's what happened with me. I was a waiter. I was an actor. I was, I went to university. I had some crap jobs, and I worked in a video store. I worked in a a record store. I delivered papers for a long time. I've been working since I was 12 years old, and all of that education and all of those different directions that I took helped me understand what it would take to be a producer and walk into a room filled with people that had a lot of money and experience, quote unquote, and tell them about my concepts and ask them for support. And I was able to do that.
Definitely the idea that education just doesn't just come from a book. It comes from what you can do with your life and what you can find and what you can excel in.
Yeah, and I think surprise yourself. Like that should be the goal of a life. Like get out there and surprise yourself. Like I'm a father now, and I had no idea I was going to be a father, and it's an incredibly surprising thing, and it's the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to me. And I think we need these big changes in our life that shake us up and add flavor to us. Give us more dimension. And what's interesting is that some of these big things that happen, like buying your first car or buying your first home, they seem like these unattainable goals when you're young. They seem like these monumental events that are going to happen in your life, and they are, but they're also the road. They're also a road that has been paved by generations of people before you. And I think what happens is you get to these achievements and you pass through them and you go, okay, well that was amazing, but it's not this light from God saying, okay, now you've ascended. It's part of your evolutionary process, and I think just have experiences and take risks and meet lots of interesting people and be grateful and be open.
Things won't just come to you. You have to attain them yourself as well.
That too. You have to work hard.
Yeah. Well, Vic, we're going to just take a quick commercial break, and we'll just be right back after these messages. So Let's tune in.
Hello, this is Robert Saracen Blake with the Subdued String Band Jamboree on Civil Radio, home of Ed Wilson Songbag, Thursdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 101.7 FM and at civl.ca.
When you use a WarAmps key tag, it acts as a safeguard. If you lose your keys, the WarAmps can return them to you by courier. To order your key tags, contact the WarAmps at 1-800-250-3030 or waramps.ca.
Join Student Life as they put on a free pancake breakfast every Thursday from 8 to 10 So come on out and meet some new people. And hey, they're free pancakes, so what can you say?
You're listening to CIVL Radio, 101.7 FM.
Hello, everybody. You're tuned in to Listening to the Movies, a show where we play classic hits from great film soundtracks. And I have a very special guest on for the show. I am still in awe that I am actually talking to him on this phone. We have Victor Lucas on the show. Vic, thank you again for coming on. And
thank you so much, man.
We're going to continue on with some questions. Now, this is something I wanted to ask you about. Oh, I guess you're on your deck.
I'm on my deck, yeah. I'm outside. You can hear a seagull.
Yeah. Anyway, I was saying, you gave The Raid 2 a 9.5 back in April. I also truly enjoyed this film, and I've told many friends that it is my contender for Film of the Year. And if possibly, if it wasn't so violent, it won't, but it should win Best Film Editing for the Oscar. And I know that Days of Future Past is just this Friday, but I still just wanted to ask, so far for 2014, what has been your favorite film?
That's it. Raid 2.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was so good, wasn't it?
Stunning piece of work, that. A totally incredible artistic achievement. It's hyper-violent. It's hard to watch in places, but it's also hard to not watch. You know, it's so sumptuous. It's so assured. You know, this guy, Gareth Evans?
Gareth Evans you're right, Gareth Evans.
Yeah,
there's Gareth Evans and there's Gareth Edwards, who just did Godzilla.
Yeah, I just saw Godzilla today, and I'll tell you, Godzilla is no The Raid 2. Evans in the lead right now. He is. I saw that with Marissa Roberto, who's my co-host on the shows,
I remember seeing you guys' review. Yeah.
And I turned to her and I said, "This dude should be directing the next Batman trilogy." You know,
no doubt.
I think he would be phenomenal if they let him be who he is, because he's obviously, you know, he has the freedom to do what he wants with this movie, and boy, does he do it! It's an amazing masterwork.
Oh no doubt. Like, that's something that sometimes you see in films. Like, they either really work or they don't as personal projects, because he produced, directed, and edited it. And sometimes those can turn out to be a little bit more of self image kind of imposing, rather than what the Raid 2 is. Raid 2 is just a piece of cinematic masterpiece, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was Robert Rodriguez's? It was El Mariachi, and then Desperado. Was that the second one?
Yes.
I mean, that's what this movie reminded me of. Desperado. You know, and maybe Blade as well. You know, that same kind of visceral, like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm watching this. I've never seen anything like this before. That makes you jump out of your seat with excitement. You know, and that it's an intangible, and it's something that I think every filmmaker shoots for. But there's so many different pieces of machinery at play, and you know, Godzilla was a prime example of that. I mean, you can feel the studio grinding things to kind of make it a toy-friendly, kid-friendly, you know, giant monster movie. It just felt like
it was a monster movie that really didn't have a monster, right?
Yeah, it was incongruous.
Yeah,
it was soulless. It was bloodless.
It wasn't
as fun as Pacific Rim.
Exactly, it was a 2-hour tease, wasn't it? You're waiting the whole time to see a monster battle, and then it happens, but it's over. But you have to wait so long, and then when it does happen, it's over in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and then they keep cutting back to characters that you don't care about. It's like, why am I watching Elizabeth Olsen? This girl is Aaron or Kick-Ass's wife. I don't care beyond that.
Yeah.
Did you see his Gareth Edwards film before Monsters?
Absolutely.
Yeah, same.
That was phenomenal.
Did you feel the same sort of way for his characters though?
I really love that film. I watched it on video. I watched it at home. And I don't know if it was the setting for the movie, but it was just a really hypnotic kind of meditative eavesdrop on these characters that you really get to know by the end of their journey. And that was Scoot McNairy, who has become a name. Like he's actually in a lot of stuff these days, and he did a great job. And so did the woman that the love interest in that.
Yeah, he was in movie. Yeah, he was in Killing Them Softly as well.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah, no, but yeah, the thing that what Monsters had is that the monsters were characters of their own, right? And that's something that Godzilla doesn't really have. Godzilla is just these massive monster things that apparently don't make a single noise until they're right behind people. They're like that lack of acknowledgement for them is kind of related towards how you feel about the movie.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm excited about X-Men. I'm saying that tomorrow. I hope that's good. I'm a big fan of Bryan Singer's work, and I love the X-Men films, so I hope it's good.
Yeah. So this is kind of a question I just thought of now, but when you were saying about how you're a kid, you get to do exactly what you love. How much do you love seeing movies ahead of time, like getting to see the special presentations of them?
I love it. I'm not crazy about and I don't mean to be disparaging of people, but the public screenings can be a bit of a wild card. There can be some really noisy people that are just so excited they got a free movie, and they can be incredibly distracting.
Mm-hmm.
People will bring their whole meal from a fast food restaurant and open that up and crinkle paper. It's just like going to the movies. It's a crapshoot,
Yeah, exactly.
But I get to see press screenings sometimes in the mornings, and I love those. Those feel like
everyone's they're respecting,
yeah. Yeah, and it's just the local media that reviews the stuff, and so it's a pretty tight group, and we know everybody, and it's not late into the night either, It's like a morning thing or an early afternoon thing, and then you can just have the peace and quiet and enjoy the film and be able to think on it.
Exactly that's why a lot of people go to matinee showings, right?
Yeah, but I can't complain about any of this stuff. It's all candy. It's all a complete joy.
Well, I was going to say, you probably don't remember, but when you went to see Pacific Rim out in Richmond, I was standing in line to go in, and I remember seeing you come out of the theater, and you were wearing your glasses, your IMAX glasses. Like, what kind of guy wears glasses when he comes out of the theater? And then I saw your hair, and I saw your chin. I was like, Victor? And you turned, and you looked at me, and you said, hey, and you walked on by, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in the same movie theater with Victor Lucas. Because I remember when we got in, I was on the very bottom row, and I looked up and I saw you, and I was pointing out to my friend. I was like, "Look, there's Victor Lucas." Oh no, I felt so much better of seeing that movie because I knew you were way up there. I was like, I'm in the same room, and I thought that
come on!
I was in the same room for 2 hours.
Oh come on!
Oh dude,
that stuff makes me feel uncomfortable, dude. I'm just I'm a nerd on TV.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't want to a small ever so part of me wanted me to go up and say hi to you, but I was like, no, I don't want to ruin the movie for him because that's what. Speaking of movies, what is a favorite movie of yours that you feel has never gotten the attention or recognition that it's deserved?
Ooh, okay. One of them is The Rocketeer.
Yeah, a lot of people say that movie too.
Yeah, I love that movie, and it meant a lot to me. And I don't know if you know this, but I interviewed Billy Campbell for the show, and one of the cool things is that he played the Rocketeer.
Yeah.
He was shooting The Killing here, and he invited me and the crew over to his place, and we watched the movie together, and we did a kind of impromptu behind-the-scenes commentary thing, and I was interviewing him as we were watching the flick, and you can watch that on our website, on epn.tv, and that just blows my mind. I have the Rocketeer action figure that I bought it in Tokyo when I was out there, because I was such a fan of that film and that character, and I've gotten to know I guess I know what being a fan is like. I've gotten to know somebody that I'm a huge fan of, so it's a kind of a surreal thing. Ultimate
fan service, watching the movie of this character, this person that you had a childhood fan for. You were a childhood fan for. That must have been amazing to be sitting.
It was really cool. It's surreal. And every time he texts me, it's like, holy crap, there's Billy, the Rocketeer, texting. It's a very weird thing.
Oh,
but
man, that is crazy.
I love that guy. He's a really cool guy and hell of an actor, very versatile. He's done tons of different things, but he will always be the Rocketeer to me.
Oh, man, that is awesome. That is so cool. Well, speaking of celebrities, if there's one celebrity that you could meet who you haven't met yet and you would want to interview, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Oh, man. Well, I've only ever said one thing to Harrison Ford, and I was on the MTV carpet for the MTV Movie Awards, and I asked him, when's Indy coming out? So this gives you an idea of how long ago that was and how long I've been doing this. And he said, soon. It'll be out soon, kid.
See, he even thought you were young.
I would like to talk with him a lot more.
Oh,
I would like he'd be a hard interview, and he's supposed to be a real crotchety, kind of jerky guy, but he's my hero, man. He's without question. He's obviously done these roles that I love, but I also like kind of the way that he leads his life, And I don't think he's like a pure, never done anything wrong kind of person or anything like that. I just like that he's kind of journeyman about the work that he does. He just goes and I have a job to do. I'm going to do it well, and I won't like all parts of this, but you're going to get something solid from me. And then I'm going to go to Wyoming and live in my ranch and fly my helicopters and live the real life that I want to live.
Yeah.
I kind of respect that.
Well, speaking of Mr. Ford, who do you prefer, Indy or Han?
Indy.
Oh, same.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Indiana Jones is my favorite character. I like Indiana Jones more than Batman.
Whoa.
I like Indy is my he is the epitome of all the things that I really I love that era. I love the out of time look of this guy. Even in that period, he's just an amazing creation. Mm-hmm. I just really love it because he symbolizes, I think, all of adventure.
Yeah,
because of all of the influence that went into him. Batman kind of does too in a lot of ways. He's an amalgam of Zorro and pulpy stuff. But it's definitely those two, man.
Wow.
Definitely those two, Indy and Batman.
Oh man, that is awesome. That's the idea of adventure. That is a perfect ideology of what Indiana Jones is. And I think anytime you see a hat or a fedora, you always hear that theme song in the back of your head, no matter what you're thinking about. You see a whip, you think of it. You see Mr. You see Harrison Ford.
What I like about the character and what I like about Batman, I think, and I respect it so much, is the work ethic. Like they're both a little bit crazy, and they're both driven and psychotic a little bit in their determination to uncover mysteries, and they're self-made men that aren't afraid to work hard and are educated to an unbelievable degree. And I just think it's awesome that there are these heroes out there that are not just physical specimens or they have these super heroic powers, but it's really just about invention and assertion and determination, and that's what's made them so interesting, And they seem in their superiority. There's also a fragility and a broken quality about both of those characters, and I think that's the other side of it that I really respond to, and so many people have, is that they seem like human beings.
I can now have a conversation. I can now say to all my friends, like, I think the Raid 2 is the best, and so does Victor Lucas. He agrees with me. So,
and your friends will go, who?
Yeah, that's actually, unfortunately, some people I've said, it's like, who is this? I said, I'm interviewing Victor Lucas, and they said, who's that? And I just show him your picture, and he's like, oh, that guy.
Oh, dude, it's a surreal thing to be pointed at, and somebody says, oh, video games. Like I represent all the video games. It's a very weird thing.
Oh man,
It's also weird to hear your full name too. Like, hey, Victor Lucas. There's Victor. I mean, that's weird as well. I never get used to that, but it's very appreciated.
a rejuvenation of appreciation and just thanks every day. So I have a few questions that, little personal. This is one thing I was really looking forward to asking you is, you've always mentioned how grateful you are for your family and your life. You say your wife is also a co-producer for your show. How much does he help with both your show and your personal life?
Oh, it's an unbelievable mountain of things that my wife does to help me in my world, and in her world too. I mean, she benefits from everything that we do together. We are a partnership, and it's not always easy because we take a lot on. We have built something really unbelievable together, in our life, in our business, and our family now with our daughter. And it's, something that we have to kind of work at different stages and work together on. But I think that we both recognize that none of what we have in this wonderful life could be possible without each other. We have.
You two
I've needed her definitely to be able to have the dream of this show of EP, and then get all of this stuff together. And I think that she's.
You each are your other half.
Yeah, I mean, like if you want to boil it down to a Valentine card, for sure, it's like that. But I think, honestly, I think that human beings are not meant to live alone. They're meant to find love. They're meant to find people that they can cohabitate with and build things with. And I was lucky enough to be able to do that at an age that allowed me to adventure and dream, and she supported that. And then I was able to support her in some things, and we've kind of assembled this awesome, crazy existence for ourselves, and I feel blessed and very grateful about all of it. And I also feel unbelievably happy for my daughter. I think Ruby is, she's a marvel for us. We're just blown away by what she gives us every day, but I think she's got it pretty good too. She's in a pretty loving home, and she has parents around her that are very grateful.
Oh, that is exactly my reason for asking for you this next question. There are many celebrities, politicians, fitness experts, etc., who have written self-biographies. I can say without a shred of doubt, and I'm not trying to sound sassy or anything here, I would read yours in an instant if you wrote one. Every time I see you on EP or Reviews on the Run, doing interviews or at Fan Expo, you are always smiling. Your outlook on life and your career makes you the poster child, for me at least, for someone who is truly high on life. What do you believe you have done with both your career and your life to achieve this?
I'm in my life, so it's hard to answer that thing.
Hard to boil down.
That question, But I think one of the things that I'll tell you. When I started this journey, when we had our first season of EP on the air in 1997. So prior to that, it was a lot of discussions with people and meetings and flights and drives to go and talk with people. But when we actually got the show on the air, I remember walking home in 1997. I lived in Kitsilano in Vancouver at the time, and I was I walked home from downtown, down in Yaletown, which is where our first production office was. We've had about 10 since then. But we had an office in Yaletown, and I was walking home, and I didn't make any money. I made $13,000 in the first year that EP was on the air, and $13,000 in the second year that EP was on the air, which is like well below the poverty line.
Yeah.
But I was walking home, and I just felt like Indiana Jones. I felt like I had achieved something really special and remarkable, and I was very grateful. And And I remember that point of perspective, and I just think to that all the time. I think about having an overview of this and appreciating every day, and being grateful for every adventure. Like I don't think you have to be on TV to have that philosophy. I just think you have to not be miserable. I think you have to work hard to find space in your life and things in your life that give you great joy, and don't settle for less.
Excellent words.
I had that perspective when I was a kid, and I had a work ethic when I was a kid, and I think what I would like to do now, like I've been doing this for a long time, is just work on my balance more. I've done some pretty good things in terms of balancing how much work and how much life I have. How much just family time and not work time I have. Since Ruby was born, I made it a big. Since I found out that my wife was pregnant, but I still have more to do in that way, and I think I have more to do with helping people that want to do this kind of thing find their way into it.
Oh, that is really good words. Really, that's a perfect outlook. You say work hard and you will achieve what you want, but you have, like you were saying during your TED Talks, was the last rule of the 3D rules. Well, technically the fourth rule was to dream, and I remember you saying that, and that was perfect. That was some of the most inspirational stuff I've ever heard, is the idea that if you dream, like, your dreams can come true as long as you're willing to work towards them. They won't come to you. You have to attain them yourself. Yeah. So, but this, going back sort of to the biography idea, some people read about this person in question to see when they had a low point in their lives and how they rose up against it. You mentioned during your TED Talks of your father's abandonment. If I can ask, have you ever had a low point in your life where you felt like you just weren't going anywhere, this wasn't what you wanted to do, and what did you do to traverse it?
Oh man, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Jeremy. Like, media is hard. I've had executives come up to Vancouver to cancel a show, and which meant that I had to shuffle and think about how we were going to raise money to have another season. Mm-hmm. When we started this, I didn't have multiple years, or I didn't have commitments that would stretch on for a little while. It was like, we're going to give you 6 episodes. Now we're going to give you 13 episodes, money to be able to build that. And then we're going to try 26, and then we're going to try 48, and then we're going to get to 52, and then, in 2008, when Rogers said, okay, well, we need you to really populate the G4 Canada network with good stuff, because you guys know this space and you make good television programming, and we're going to try to turn EP into a daily show, things really started to change for us, because we became this fixture in people's lives as soon as we hit the air every day, and we could sort of exhale a little bit. But every year up until that point, it was always like, is this it? Are we done? Are we not going to be able to keep going on this? And that's hard, man. That's
no
hard.
doubt.
It's hard to hear that. It's hard to think of that. It's hard to solve that puzzle. But I think we just. What I do is I just try to solve the puzzle. That's what a producer is. It's a bit of a meta game, like you have a series of problems in front of you, and you go, well, okay, I try this direction, maybe that'll help. If maybe I reach out to this person, maybe they'll want to work with us there. And that's what's, what, I've really been having this crystallizing thought about life, because every life spins out of control. And here's the truth of it. You won't reach out for your awards or your accomplishments or your the stuff you bought, any of that crap. When your life is spinning out of control, what you're reaching out for are people. And so what you need to do as a human being, regardless of what you do with your life, is have a lot of people around you that love you and you love, and you can reach out to them when your world starts spinning out of control, because it will.
Oh, wow. No, that is perfect. That is a great idea. That some people sometimes believe that they're alone when they have their problems, but little do they know that there always are people who are willing to listen.
Oh, absolutely. My mom taught me that, man.
Oh.
My mom was a powerhouse. She raised 4 kids and didn't have the support of my father, and but she was a 5'2" little woman, that just powered her way through life, and she really kind of made me realize that every individual, every human being on earth has an immense amount of power, and we all have an ability to create space, and we all have significance, and we all matter to people, and and we all should matter to ourselves as well, And I think that to each individual person should matter to themselves as well. But she really inspired me with that. She made me realize that these huge institutions, these enormous entities, these companies that we think of as mastheads and Death Stars or whatever, they're just people. They're just people.
Oh, exactly. So now we have just 1 minute or just a few minutes left. So this is our last question. Do you ever hope people take inspiration from your show and try to make something of their own?
Absolutely. I mean, I built this programming to sort of shine a spotlight on a very deserving group of people out there that didn't get much attention, and to critique it. But as we've continued to be able to build these shows year after year, I think that we've inspired a lot of people to get into these fields, and that's an unbelievably gratifying thing to hear, that someone is making a game because they saw us covering games back in the 90s, and that people have grown up with our shows, and that's amazing to me, and unbelievably newly inspiring back for me, because then I realized that we have this generational responsibility with the material. But then I also think, how do I keep going and growing this content that we create so that we can give people new opportunities? So yeah, it's the end goal is to be respected. And there was one thing that there was 2 things. I wanted the audience to dig it, but I also really wanted the community itself, the people that we covered, to also understand that this show was for them. These concepts were for them. This was for the enrichment of and the coverage of these mediums that we were covering, so that people would like it and respect it and feel that what we were doing was authentic. And I have heard that, so it's unbelievably gratifying.
Oh, exactly, man. That is perfect. I have to say that's why when I got offered to do the arcade column for our newspaper, I actually thought of you right when I started.
Thanks, man.
Aw. Anyway, guys, that's all from me. We're at the end of the interview. Thank you again, Victor. Thank you so much for coming on this show.
You did not ask me one question about music in movies.
I know, that's why I wanted to ask you about, I asked you about Raid and Captain America, but I really wanted to ask about you. I wanted to ask you about, who you were and what you've done, because, as I said, every time I've met you, I always think you're the happiest guy on the planet, and I wanted to know why you are so happy, and what have you done, and what sort of generates towards you, and everything that makes you so happy. And I got that totally from you, and I'm so happy that you were able to come on the show and talk to me about that.
My pleasure, man.
Nah.
I hope your listeners get something out of this and have fun and dream big, man. Go chase them.
Oh no, exactly. Follow the 4th rule, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's all from us. Thanks for listening. You guys were tuned into Listening the Movies radio show on 101.7 CIVL FM, reporting to you live from the University of the Fraser Valley Abbotsford campus, serving Abbotsford, Mission, Chilliwack, and surrounding areas. See you guys next week.
When you use a WarAmps key tag, it acts as a safeguard. If you lose your keys, the WarAmps can return them to you by courier. To order your key tags, contact the WarAmps at 1-800-250-3030 or waramps.ca.
Join Student Life as they put on a free pancake breakfast every Thursday from 8 to 10. So come on out and meet some new people. And hey, they're free pancakes, so what can you say?
Hey, this is the K-Man.
And I'm Big Daddy,
Join us for the Power Hour,
where we play all your favorite metal and hair tunes.
along with Canadian classics and local artists,
So dig out that old tour shirt, let your hair down, and rock on.
right here on Civil Radio.